Every month, my private coaching clients go head to head in what we call the prospecting games. This is where we see which agent in the first week of the month can set the most listing appointments. And the winner flies out to Detroit, Michigan to hang out with me to do a private one-on-one full day mastermind. And so what you're about to see in this video is the winner of those games. He and I doing a deep dive on what it takes to actually win in this business at the highest level. And it's not me interviewing him, it's him interviewing me. And so for the first time, maybe for you, if you're newer to this channel or just first meeting, or maybe you've seen a couple of videos, he's able to pull some things out of me, I think, that you'll find very, very beneficial when it comes to the tactical strategies on generating a multiple six-figure income as a listing agent. And so when he was with me this entire day, here's the best part, is I broke down a business model for him such that he could go back into his local market and not just create a six-figure income, but be the dominant listing agent in his market by far. And so there's a link to that strategy. There's a video right in the description. You can grab it right now where I walk you through the exact same thing. People's ambition, right? Easy to say you want.
Yes.
Very hard to do. Okay. I think everyone can agree to that.
100%.
However, I still don't believe people grasp the gap. This is called cognitive dissonance. The ambition versus what it actually takes to get. Okay. People can intellectually say they get it, but they don't. And so when it comes to being a millionaire, it requires you to be a little off. And I think I explained to you what I mean by being a little off. It's like, you got to be a little crazy. You got to be a little bit obsessed. You have to be able to sacrifice. You got to be able to chuck logs on the fire. You ever heard me say that before?
Yes.
You got to chuck logs on the fire. That might mean relationships. That might be giving up a lot in your life to accomplish this thing that very, very few people are able to accomplish. And to be fair, once people are on the journey, Joe, so many people get off the journey. They say, this ain't worth it. They start making $700,000 or $600,000, and they say, this is plenty, because they're at some level, the sacrifice isn't worth the reward. And I think a lot of people don't get to that $1 million income because that's exactly what happens to them.
So you said you have to be a little bit cuckoo, a little bit crazy, obsessed, sacrifice, throw logs onto the fire. I guess my follow-up question for you, is it worth it?
It's worth it it's worth it for me because there's two pain points. And I believe that our adult life is a manifestation of the childhood trauma we go through. Do you get that?
Yes.
I believe our adult life is a manifestation of our childhood trauma, and it's just playing out. What do I mean by that? Well, there are two pains. Being wealthy and being broke, both are painful. And for me, being broke is more painful than being wealthy. Growing up with nothing, they say being broke, like I'm allergic to being broke. What that means is it's too painful because it brings me back to my childhood. It brings me back to this world where I'm surrounded by wealth and all these kids that have all this money, and my brother and I living in the one-bedroom apartment with my single mom. That is more painful than the pain of going through generating large amounts of income. It's not for the income. It's not for what the money can get me, but it's too painful not to have the money. It's too painful to shop in the clearance section. It's too painful to have mismatched shoes for my kids. It's too painful to go without. And so that's really what we're talking about, is most people are picking the path of least resistance. They say they want, but for most people, generating a large income is more painful than being broke.
Yeah, you say this a lot. You talk about doesn't matter the level, how high your ambition is. We talked about this earlier today. It matters where your standards are. So basically, if I'm hearing you correctly, you don't want to regress back to your mean. You already changed that person. You became the better person, the future version of yourself. And your standards are now at a place where you don't want to give it up. You rather go through the path with the most resistance to evade your childhood, reality, essentially.
That's right. It's just this is what I'm saying. When you look at these people, many people that achieve elite levels of results, a lot of them are coming out of trauma. That's what I mean. I mean this at the deepest psychological level, that most of them are screwed up. So I don't want this life for everybody. That's my point. If people are really grasping what I'm saying, is who doesn't want more money and more this and more that? But the people who have it do so as a manifestation of their flaws.
You talk a lot about the disease of knowledge and information, and unfortunately, you say it with so much conviction, so much passion. Unfortunately, the people at home, the people who are looking, they're gonna listen one ear and it's gonna go throughout the next. Just from me talking to you, I understand what it cost you, the sacrifices, the logs burned. But people don't really understand. I never really understand until I'm face to face with a person that makes millions of dollars on a yearly basis. I never really grasped the concept like I'm talking about. But it's gonna fly over people's heads. Unfortunately, people are still gonna say they want it, but I guess their actions are gonna determine what they really want.
I don't want them to I don't want them to go through what it takes to go through to get it. That's my point. If they only understand, like when we talk about picking a pain, it sucks. They think it's sexy. It's just as shitty as not having a lot of money. You just have to pick one. For me, I can't have that life. I grew up like that. I'm not going to put my kids through that, Joe. They're not going to go through the pain that I went through. When it comes to, and it's not healthy. That's the thing. I'm fucked up. It's not healthy to do and to operate at this level to reach that level of results. I'm not going to say success because success is different for everybody.
Yeah.
It's not healthy. That's the point. There's something wrong with me. And as a result of something being wrong with me is the thing that allows me to produce at that level. And I think I would make the argument that anybody that's at an elite level, there's, it doesn't matter. I mean, if you look at Jeff Glover, it's a good example too. If you look at what he's able to produce now, I have so much respect for the guy. Why? Where does it come from? Look at his childhood. And I don't know if you know his story or not. Oh, you don't know his story? I don't know his story, no. It's the same thing, right? I mean, he grew up in a trailer park and he was surrounded with a single mom, just like me, surrounded by kids in a place that, and I don't want to tell his story. I let him tell his story.
Yeah.
But as an adult now, he's driven by the dysfunction of his childhood. That's the point. And so with much love and respect, I think that people come from privilege. It's going to be tough for them to get those results. You got a nice childhood, and you got a nice parents, and you got a nice household. It's going to be tough for you because you don't have the real pain. It's the same story about The Dark Knight Rises and how Bane grew up in the darkness. You know what I'm talking about? Yep. And he was the only person that was able to get out of that jail that was built underground. You know what I'm talking about? Yep. And people look at their freedom every single day. Joe, do you think for 1 second not every single prisoner wants to get to their freedom? That was the point of the prison. Why was Bane able to escape? Because his pain was so deep-rooted. He was born into the darkness. He was born into pain. And so people with privilege cannot understand that real pain. So therefore, their threshold to raise standards isn't there. Mm-hmm. You can want it as bad as you want, but it still don't matter.
Yeah, it does not matter. If you don't, I understand exactly what you're saying. What's the most expensive mistake you've ever made in business? In money, in lost time, and
it's easy for me. It's without a shadow of a doubt, it's people. It's making a bad decision based on maybe in my younger years some greed or insecurity and ruining relationships. That relationships are always going to be more valuable than any other monetary thing with, a bad geographic farming campaign as an example. Who gives a shit about that?
Yeah.
I've lost tons of money. I mean, tons of money on that. I've blown hundreds of thousands of dollars on shit coaches and lead generation things and websites and funnels. I mean, line it up. If that's what you meant, I can give you a laundry list of those things. None of those have compared to, as a young, insecure, in my early 20s, growing up in business with a lack of maturity, with a huge ego, the amount of relationships that I burned along the way it's probably my biggest regret.
Okay.
And I say that to all young people such as yourself, is to say, man, you don't have to be in business with everybody. You don't owe anything to anybody. But I think that as I'm 42 now, I just turned 42. And the thing I think that we undervalue, that we look back on, are relationships that we let go. Now, this doesn't mean having the wrong relationships with the wrong people. We talked about that too, leaving the herd, right? And the herd won't like it. That's another topic. But I'm saying that relationships that I wish that I had that I don't, as a result of immaturity and ego.
Okay.
That makes sense?
Yeah, it makes sense.
That's the biggest mistake.
I can talk to a little bit because, when you do, I'm 24, 42, we could flip it around.
Yeah.
When you're at my age, and I'm at six figures, we're pacing for, $250,000 this year. It feels good. Maybe sometimes your head gets a little bit big.
Yeah,
you get the little ego.
That's right.
But my dad always taught me to, slow down, calm down. There's always somebody going to be doing better than you.
That's right.
Always somebody that's doing something better than what you're doing now.
Yeah.
And Patrick Bet-David, we talked about our mutual respect for him. He talks about this excerpt from Marcus Aurelius in Meditations. And Marcus Aurelius, he was an emperor in Italy. People loved him. He was renowned. He was, oh my God, everybody just loved Marcus Aurelius. And with his high ego, he had a slave walk behind him.
Two of them.
Yeah, two of them. I didn't know that. And he had him say, it's a
great story. I'll finish the story.
You can finish the story.
Yeah, he had two of them he hired to whisper in both ears, "You're only a man. You're only a man. You're only a man." Because everyone praised him so much so that he had to be humbled at all times and be reminded, because, dang, that sucks. This thing is just fire right now. We're spitting flames.
Yeah, we are. I mean, we could keep going with these two.
Yeah. Okay.
When you look back at 24, you talking about had a high ego. You were the fucking man.
That's right.
My language. I don't know if we can curse.
Absolutely.
But you were the fucking man. Marcus Aurelius was the man. Did you have somebody in your life to hey, Brandon, calm down. Let's lower you down. You're just a man.
Tons. And I didn't want to hear it.
She didn't want to hear it.
Ego doesn't allow you to hear it. That's, I think, the point. I had tons of people that have walked before me, but the part of ego is your inability to be blinded to the truth. And so because of that ego, the point is that what I think you were just saying about your dad, which I think is great, it's you start to get some success and you start to pump your chest out a little bit. It's wait. I mean, is that your fullest potential? And if the answer is no, is to constantly remind yourself that A, I'm only getting started, and B, I need to stay humble so that I can hear. I have to beat the ego is the enemy. Ego is the enemy, which is a great book, by the way. And I think for young people, as they start to rise up, as they start to get success, is that to remind yourself that if you want to keep leveling up, you have to keep your ego at bay.
Yeah.
Constantly.
Yeah. That makes sense. Because, you have these months where you see your account and it's what in the world? 2 years ago, 3 years ago, I was not making this type of money. And then you have Patrick Bet-David. I love the guy. He talks about it all the time. You make the first 30K month, 40K month, 50K for you is obviously different. But for us, younger age, you make those 30K months. And you're oh my God, tomorrow, what are we going to do?
Yeah.
But we talk about surrounding yourself by the right people.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what you did yesterday. It matters if you showed up at 7:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
If you dialed from 8 to 12.
Yeah.
If you followed up, you went on appointments, and you continue to generate business.
That's right. And I'll add something to that. Is that as you start, I remember I cried and I called my mom the first time I made $10,000 in a month. I remember the phone call. And I was probably, I think it was when I was 20. And the point of this conversation is it's one thing to get an A. It's another thing to keep an A. It's easy to get to an A. It's easy to generate a big month. In our industry, I mean, as soon as somebody thinks they've reached the top, what do? They let their foot off the gas and they ride this roller coaster their whole career. So for me, my mindset is, okay, I did it. That's not impressive. Can I continue to do it? Can I now allow my best month to be my lowest month?
Yeah, because whenever you reach your best month, now that's your new ceiling.
You got it.
Now that's your new.
You've raised it.
That's it. If you're not taking 3, 4, 5, 6 listings a month, but your best month was 6 listings a month, you're failing every single month.
And what do most agents do? That they have a great month, and now, oh, I've made it, and now I've got all this money, and now I'm gonna just relax. And so we always say that, you know, complacency, like ego, is also death of the human spirit.
I never heard of that one before. So I have a bunch of questions here, but this topic is so good. You were a 24-year-old once in my shoes.
Mm-hmm.
What would be the biggest piece of advice that you would give to me? In the form of ego, in the form of big months, in the form of humble, in the form of, is this your best?
Is to spend more time getting clear on what you want and figuring out why you want it. Is to get really clear on, and I didn't do this for a long time, what you're fighting for and what is the reason you're fighting for it. Because when I really challenge people and we get down to their ambition, it's to impress other people that don't give a shit. It's to win the like contest. And that's not going to be enough. And so, yes, there's all these different things, but when I really sit here and think about it, it's to say, okay, am I super clear on my mission? And do I know why I am on that mission?
So you were successful on your mission. Why? Because you were very clear. You understood you didn't want to go back to the past. You didn't want to regress.
Well, I would say I wasn't clear. You know, I wasn't clear for a long time. That's why I'm giving you
the advice.
That's right. See, I think that the learning is in the doing, as you've heard me say many, many times. And it's only now that I can speak from hindsight to say, I wasn't clear. That's the point. That's why I'm giving you this advice, is I wasn't clear. I was doing what I was doing at the time I was doing it as a young person that was very immature with a huge ego. I was doing it to say, fuck you. That's why I was doing it.
You were doing it for the nice car.
Exactly.
You were doing it for the money.
I was doing it to impress people that I didn't care about, that didn't care about me. That was my motivation when I was young. And so it took me a while, you know, and that's what I'm saying. I didn't spend any time as a young person getting clear on these things because it's so easy to get caught up into the cars and the watches and the things. And as a young person, I understand, you know, that desire to want those things. I get it. Like it brings a smile to your face. I get it.
It's the first thing I did.
I know. But when you look at the why, it comes from a place of, well, most of it is to impress others. You know, it's to chase girls and it's to impress girls, it's pressure boys. That's where it's coming from. And you know, it's like Viktor Frankl talks about in The Man's Search for Meaning. And it goes back to like having a strong why. And as soon as all that stuff runs out, so does the character. You know what I mean by that?
So does the energy. You have no energy. You're flat. You don't want to show up. If that's what it's for,
and you learn as you start to mature and you start to get older, that Joe, no one gives a shit what car you drive. Ain't no one cares what's on your wrist. You know, like that can only carry you so far.
That's a good piece of feedback. Well, this is good because we're talking about this. I just asked, you know, to give me some advice, me as a 24-year-old. You as a 42-year-old, you're, you know, top echelon in all income earners. You're in the 9% that Ben talked about. Would you do the same thing exactly over? Like I'm talking about the same exact blueprint to get to where you are today.
No, probably not. I would, when we talk about the end result, I wouldn't want that to change. I'm very happy with where I'm at right now, but certainly through failures, I would do things differently. I think everybody would say that. You know, would I make a left-hand turn instead of a right-hand turn there? For sure. So I think the how might look a little different. But to get to where I'm at now, I wouldn't change anything for the world. I mean, I love my lifestyle. I love what I've been able to achieve for my family. That would not change if that's the question. The how, I mean, that would require hours of conversation of navigating, what would I have changed and where would I have turned left when I've turned right. I think we talked about some of those things in this conversation, but I think anybody could say that. Even at being 24, it's like, hey, if you can go through high school again, what would you have done differently?
Yeah.
There's tons of things. If you could play baseball again, what would you have done differently? So that I think is everybody would change some things.
If you started day one as a realtor, what will you do? Sign Brandon Morenin. There you go.
Yeah.
No more ignorance tax.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we're gonna switch gears a little bit.
Sure.
Talk about branding, social media, coaching. Do you believe the next generation of top agents will have personal brands, or will operations still be popularity? The reason why I'm asking that question is because you see a little bit more now of the TikTok, Instagram, YouTube. But from what I've heard and what I've seen, the biggest teams are operational. You don't even see the top dogs anymore. They're on autopilot and they're running. So what do you think is better for the brand, and which one do you think will outlast the other?
Explain a little bit more. I want to make sure I'm clear on this.
Okay, so you have
give me option A and give me option B.
Option A is
we're talking specifically real estate agents, or what are we talking
We're
here?
talking about top agents.
Okay, got it.
They have those personal brands.
Okay.
The people that market, or we have the people that are ops, where they have operational manual. They don't really care too much about the branding, because you've been in the business longer than I have. What do you see more of? Do you see more of people that are off the grid, killers, or do you see people that are on social media? What do you see more of? Let me ask you that.
I think what you're asking, I think that's the elephant in the room, and I don't know if you can debate the value of personal brand. It's probably not even what you think I was going to say, but it doesn't matter. What I mean by that is, until you have it, you don't understand the value of it, and that there would be no debate that if the argument is option A, you go to a listing appointment and that person that you're meeting with has consumed 40 hours of your content versus going there and them not knowing you from Adam, no one would debate you would rather have the latter.
Okay, I understand.
That's the easiest way I can tell you. But I think the reality, like most things, is people underestimate what it means to build a personal brand and how much work goes into that. And I would say that if I could go back and do it all over again, is that if the argument is, okay, the other thing that can also be true is that if you're saying what's more important, is it more important to focus on direct outbound prospecting versus spending your time on social media? There's a lot of nuance and context in that debate, if that's what you're asking.
I think I asked the question, you redirected the question, you answered it better than anybody could have answered it. So that's perfect. Personal brand is your go-to. Nobody sees the value and importance of it. Now, to follow up with that, if you were building a personal brand from scratch in 2025 with no followers, how would you start that today?
And this is from what context? A realtor?
A realtor, and maybe we can follow up a coaching platform.
Yeah. So if I was a realtor, I mean, it's so simple. I mean, the only thing that I would, okay, let me take a step back. It's all character traits, right? And so what I mean by that is people think they underestimate the amount of work that it takes to generate consistent content long term. I mean, dude, I was posting daily content on YouTube for 5 years before you even knew who I was. Nothing, no results, no views, none of the likes, none of the dopamine, zero dopamine, right? So, but if I was a real estate agent, all I would be doing to build an audience and to build credibility is I'd be reporting on the newest developments where I lived. So what's coming? This is the type of content that A, people want from realtor content, and B, your competitors don't share, and then C, positions you as a real expert. So I would be every single day going to these news outlets, going to chat, going to wherever I need to understand what's coming in my local market, what new developments, what new restaurants, what's being built. And I'd be the first person to report on that. So like Hoboken, New Jersey, right? I would be making daily content. And specifically for Realtor, I'd be making short form content on Instagram every single day, talking about what's new and what's coming, and then reporting on the top neighborhoods or what you could get for this price point or what I'm seeing in the market. I show up every day the same way a news anchor would show up every day and run their show at 5 p.m. I would be doing that every single day. In addition to that, I'd be spending hours doing direct outbound prospecting. I'd be doing both.
Okay. So we figured out a way to go from 0 to 100 with the personal brand. Now I'll talk a little bit about the coaching. What would you do from scratch today if you try to acquire coaching clients?
Same thing I've done. I mean, it's all,
Same thing.
It's the same thing. How do I create content that serves the audience? And let me take a step back on the content thing. More so than anything I just talked about, that is the most important thing is, do you have a voice? Do you show up and do you sound like every other talking head, or do you have a perspective? Do you have an opinion? Do you show up as a leader? Or are you just making content to get likes and followers? Do you just say the same shit everybody else is saying so that you can appeal to the algorithm? See, this is the difference. I mean, if you look at this historically, not that I'm advocating for cult leaders, but you're trying to show up. Can you build a tribe? Do you have a voice?
Yeah.
Do you stand for anything? Do you have a worldview that's worth talking about? You will attract your tribe and you will repel people, which is the point of a creator. Most people can't do that, dude. They're speaking, they create content to appeal to everybody, and therefore they appeal to nobody. It's dry, it's boring, it's bullshit, It's just another talking head.
100%.
And there's people in the coaching space, which I will not name names, that are like a fart in the wind. Whatever the new hottest thing is, that's what they focus on. That's what they're doing. Let me jump on that trend. I stand for nothing. It's just a money grab.
Yeah.
I'm not a person of morals or character or value at all. I'm just going to speak to whatever the new popular thing is.
Okay. I feel like you touched on this a little bit, but do you regret not documenting or capturing anything like early on in your career, in your business journey?
100%. Yeah, I wish I would have documented the whole thing. Journaling, I think, is important. Capturing it, doing things like this I think is really important. But it comes to prioritization. Can you do it while you're trying? I mean, we're busy. You're busy. I'm busy. So I mean, the easy answer is yes, of course. I wish I would have documented it closer.
We talked a little bit about this a couple months back when we were coaching. When you were coaching me, when we were coaching. You brushed on the topic of, you wanting to build a really massive coaching business, massive coaching platform. How if we took these strategies to the car industry, the insurance industry, how you would smash. And that's true. Why do you want to do that? Why do you want to build something so big?
Yeah. Well, I think about that a lot too. And, part of it is what I just said to you earlier in the conversation, and challenging my own self to say, well, why do I want that? Is that what I want? And that's probably why you see sometimes I allow my own ambition to get ahead of myself, before I start to really think, okay, what do I have to sacrifice in order to get it? I think more so than growing something big, it's which level of impact can I make? So rather than fighting for the fame or the growth, it's you want to talk about document. How do I document a system that gets results? That's more, Joe, what I'm interested in now. And if that happens to grow to something extremely large, fine. But this is my version of detaching from the outcome. Is, can I document my methodologies in a way that none of my competitors can? Where everyone's trying to be the number one coach and more coaching clients and more. Based on the feedback, when someone gets into that world, it's very, very surface level. Versus, I want my work to mean something. I want to go deep with my life's work so that when somebody goes through my work, in my work, meaning the courses I make, the content I create, my methodologies on how I communicate. I want that to be as impactful as possible, so much so that people write books about my work long after I'm gone. That to me will be my legacy. To which level it will grow to will be what it will be.
And that's how I can tell you're probably one of the most authentic people I've ever sat across, because we talked about this a couple months ago. In the beginning of the pod, we started talking about, purpose, why, all this stuff. And we talked about ambition. And in that, like 5 minutes, you just reflected, or a couple minutes that we've been going, you just reflected, maybe that's not what I want, but this is what my actual goal and purpose is.
I can tell you what I don't want. Let me give you a concrete example. The best example of this is Grant Cardone. Okay, I'll speak to a couple points that I made in this video, and this is just what I believe, that he has done a great job building a huge audience, making hundreds of millions. Who God knows how much money he's made, but when you get into his work, it lacks depth, it lacks substance, it lacks, to me, it lacks the actual tactical piece that actually produces results. And I would never want that. I would never want to have this, huge audience, but then my work, you get into my work and it's like, I'd rather the opposite.
Because everybody comes into your world and they're like, wow, this is a masterclass.
Exactly.
This is like, we're learning. I've told people what I do and they're like, what? The push and pull. What do you?
That's right.
That's crazy.
That's what I want. I want my work to mean something. If that happens to catch some people's attention, Joe, and it grows from there, great. But you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not interested in being number one or the loudest this or the biggest that. That to me are outcomes. Those are vanity metrics. The plane and the jet and being a loudmouth. I want my work to literally change people's lives. That's what I care about. I care about the product and allowing the product to speak for itself. I hold the iPhone for people that are listening.
Yeah.
I want my work to change the lives of people that consume it, and I'll let everything else take care of itself.
Well, you've done a masterful job at that, because you changed my life, changed a lot of people, a lot of my friends that are in this program, built a great tribe, built, I often talk about it as like, from a role model perspective, of course, I hold my dad to the highest regard. He's my biggest inspiration, my biggest role model, somebody that's taught me a lot. Number two, crazy enough, is my coach. Like Brandon Morenin, I've talked to you earlier about it. You shaped a lot of my decisions, a lot of my raising of my standards, a lot of, hey, what is it that you actually want? This can't be something phantom. It has to be an actual why. Like, what are you in this for? And if that's what you want in your business, I'm letting you know right now, face to face, belly to belly, it's working. And it's working for a lot of people, because it's not just me. It's a lot of people in this community that speak very highly in your skill set and your ability to lead. It goes back to your leadership. That's the first thing you said in the podcast. And as one of your mentees, I think we have a great leader in you.
Dude, I appreciate that. It means a lot.
Let's do it, man.
That's why I do what I do. More so than the money, more so than all that ambition. That's why I do what I do. Amazing.
So a little bit switching gears. We talked a little bit about so far scaling, income, strategy, social media. Now let's get into a little bit of like mindset, discipline, character. I asked you this earlier, but I loved your response. So I want to, get people to hear what you said.
Yeah.
What's more important, sales ability or mindset?
Mindset. I mean, we
go into the 80-15-5.
Yeah, the 80-15-5 principle. And it's just a belief that our results are made up of 80% mindset and beliefs, 15% effort and attitude, and only 5% skill. Why? Well, because I think everyone would agree that hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard.
Derek Jeter. Yep.
That's right? So that's just been my experience. And that we can all, here's why, Joe, we can all learn skills, but it's very hard to develop and learn character. So I would much rather not only be around people of high character that maybe don't have the skill set than the other way around. much prefer around somebody that has high talent, but is a vampire. High talent with no work ethic. High talent, but no discipline, no focus, shiny object syndrome. Maybe they're a world-class presenter. Maybe they're a world-class coder. Maybe they're a world-class, website developer, et cetera, but without character, it's not close for me. I'd much prefer the former than the latter.
So character stems from a lot. Experiences, mindset, your childhood. If you had one piece of advice to tell anybody in the audience, like, okay, this is how maybe you can increase your level of character, your character traits, how would that even look like? Have
to be versus be to have. It's real simple.
Explain that.
Have to be, meaning most people live their life have to be, meaning I have to be at this certain company. I have to be with this certain lead pillar company. I have to be in a certain market to succeed. It's very much so the opposite, in that we have to become the type of person in order to have what it is that we want to have. So if you write this down, have to be, and you flip that, be to have, this is a process of becoming. The reason why people don't have what they want is because they're not the type of person who is able to produce what it is that they want. And so they look at external forces, which is another manifestation of victimness or being a victim. And be to have means that you recognize that you're not the type of person who deserves that type of result yet. So this whole process is a journey of becoming. And so becoming your future self. And so the process today is not to produce X amount of outcome. The process today is to focus on, am I becoming the type of person who is capable of achieving what it is that I want to achieve? Am I a person of discipline today? Am I a person of focus today? That's produces the results. It's always character that leads to the outcome, not the other way around.
Okay. A couple of these questions, you give such good responses where I look at these questions, I'm like, well, he answered that one. He answered that one.
That's fine.
So
I just want to this is a good long podcast.
I just want to make sure that, the audience gets value. Selfishly, I want to answer all these questions.
Great.
But if somebody wanted to be in your circle, what kind of character would they need to have? Or, I asked you this earlier, how quickly do you want to cut somebody off?
Mm-hmm. This is great. What I'm not interested in anymore in my life are coattail riders.
Coattail riders.
Let me explain what a coattail. You never heard that term before?
I feel like I have an idea.
There's professional coattail riders.
Really?
What do you think it is?
I feel like maybe somebody that's riding on your tail.
Yeah.
Oh man, we did it together.
Yeah.
And Brandon's like, come on, man. What are you talking about? I did this.
That's right. I'm not interested in that. I'm interested in an equal contribution of value, so that I have been susceptible because of my personality to give more than to give more to others than I get in return. And as a result, whether or not it was, I knew it. So it wasn't me being taken advantage of, to be fair. I knew it, that for the last, I don't know, call it the last 2 or 3 things that I built in my life, that there were people that were getting more benefit than I was off the backbone of my blood, sweat, and tears. And so I'm not interested in being surrounded by vampires anymore. I can recognize it really, really quick. I'm interested in who do I get energy from versus someone that's just a taker. And most of this world is made of takers. So now I'm really, really highly aware to protect myself from vampires. I talk about it all the time. Protect my communities. I'm not going to coach anybody that's a vampire, that's a taker, that has an ego. I don't need it.
Okay. How do you balance people asking you for things, trying to take? How do you balance that in your, personal and business relationships? Like, You said, you know, you don't want to surround yourselves with people, but I'm sure people still come up to you and ask you for things. And, you know, that you always talk about, if I had every 5 minutes of every realtor, hey, you got to chat, you got to chat, you got to chat.
I think it matters where it comes from. And I think that I think the perfect example is sometimes, Joe, the best way to teach people is to say no. Think about this. This will go for you too. As you continue to level up and to succeed, the amount of realtors are going to hit you up to pick your brain. The best thing that you can sometimes teach them is to say, no, you can't. What does that teach them? That teaches them discipline. That teaches them focus. Where it's so easy to be wanted. It probably feels good. You know, I remember being wanted feels good.
Yeah.
You know? And then you give everybody all your time. And as a result, what are you showing them? Your time doesn't mean anything. You're not focused. You're not disciplined. Saying no sometimes is the best teacher.
And this is one of my favorite books, No More Mr. Nice Guy. I don't know if you read it before. And basically,
that's the point.
That's the whole entire point. If you're the nice guy, you're the one that gets you're drained, your energy, your time is wasted. You're just like, oh my God, this is a death by 1,000 cuts.
You're carrying the weight of the world on your shoulders. I'm a recovering nice guy. I'm a recovering yes man. That's been my whole upbringing because I was always, you know, having my dad leave. There's a deep psychological piece to like getting acceptance from other people. But having the self-awareness now as I've matured into you know, a middle-aged man, that I recognize those insecurities, that I was trying to please everybody, seeking acceptance. And what happened is everyone got the best of me, and I ended up with the worst version of myself. So it's not about not helping people. It's to serve versus please. You've heard me talk about this.
100%.
There's a big difference between serving somebody and pleasing somebody. A good friend of both of ours, you just reached out to me. This is a coaching client. You know him, Joe. I'll just leave his last name out of it. He's like, dude, I totally get it. I totally understand what you mean by serving versus pleasing. That it is perfectly reasonable that you don't just have to go around just being Mr. Nice Guy, that like it's okay to be compensated for providing value. As an example, the law of compensation, you know, it's very fair. It's super fair to be compensated to pour into somebody. Just, we're not saving the manatees. You know what I mean? It's just a big difference to say, okay, serving versus pleasing everybody, you know, and you try to please everybody, you end up serving nobody.
Amazing.